Hey everybody, this is Jay Kumar, the Bass Blaster, and this is your Seafoam Top 5 of the week. Number 1. We all need bass brakes. Now, I don't know if you've seen these things yet, but they were invented by crappie fishermen, tournament crappie fishermen, who are live scoping, and these guys are way ahead of bass fishermen in the whole scope thing. They needed a way to stop themselves from either getting too close to a single fish or a piece of structure, especially when they're moving and scoping or the wind was blowing. Spinning around your front trolling motor wouldn't do it, because you do that and you know you hit it on high and it's noisy and it blows out the fish or it blows out the structure. So the answer is something called brakes, which basically amount to trolling motor shafts and heads mounted to shallow water anchors, also known as power poles or talons. You just mash the button on the front deck and those two motors hit in reverse, and all of a sudden you stop or you start to pull away from that fish or structure. Now the great thing is that noise, that trolling motor noise, is now 20 feet away from that fish or structure, or further away than it would be if you were using your deck trolling motor. Now, of course, that'll work for live scoping bass as well, but hold on a sec. This is yet another live sonar or forward-facing sonar invention that isn't just for live sonar. Now, think about fishing areas that you drift through a little too much, or you might blow out because you got to hit that trolling motor in reverse real quick, that are too deep for power poles. You just can't get down and power pole down and stop. Well, like fishing docks. How about these things for fishing docks? Think about when you have a swim bait fish chasing, backing up and working that fish a little longer and a little longer. How about easing back away from a bank after you freed up a snagged lure and not completely trashing your bow or your trolling motor prop? And I'm sure there's more uses than that. These things are brand new to bass fishing. Now you can hit up crappiebrakes.com to get yourself a set, or get them installed down there, and I'm pretty sure at least 2 or 3 companies are doing it too. Back up, number 2.
Back it up.
I got her.
John Cox won the Major League Fishing Invitational on Lake of the Ozarks fishing shallow. Of course he did, because that's all John does. John is a well-known bank beater, kind of an old-school fisherman who's a hero to a lot for how he does it out of an aluminum crestliner boat, and he doesn't even have forward-facing sonar hooked up. Look at that trolling motor shaft. Anyhow, he fished shallow in this one because he was sight fishing, and he did it with a 5-inch Berkley Maxcent General stick worm, like a Senko, and a Berkley jerk shad. And he used his Abu Garcia Pro Series John Cox, I think it's called the multi-purpose spinning rod. Now, he's put on the general area by his longtime fishing partner, Keith Carson. They've been fishing buddies since middle school. Really cool. Keith actually finished second in this one, fishing out of the same boat, doing the same sight fishing, maybe with the same baits. So to recap, they were both getting up shallow and making it work, and going in and out of all the docks. The mighty Cox and the mighty Van Halen. Number 3. Ott DeFoe is also fishing shallow, and he's leading the Bass Pro Tour, Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour Angler of the Year points. Also, he doesn't use forward-facing sonar unless he has to, but he does love Humminbird 360. Anyhow, Ott has finished 3rd, 7th, and 2nd so far in this year's regular season events, and he said that the format change has helped him a little bit, where you can kind of limp into the knockout round, let's just squeak in and qualify for it, and then do well in the knockout round, and then you basically have a top 10 finish. While I had him on the phone, I asked him if he was going to win a tournament this year on his new Rapala OG Rocco crankbait. I wondered if he was going to win one on this one, because he had won one on the Slim already, the OG Slim, and also on the OG Tiny. And he kind of laughed and he said, well, he wasn't sure the schedule set up for it this year, but he was confident it would happen at some point. Now, Ott's Garage is where all this bait stuff happens, and there's supposed to be more baits coming out of there which makes me wonder what's going on there. Now, if you look at his garage, it looks freshly built and freshly poured, so I wonder if they have any underground facilities down there. Maybe he's got these guys working for him? Or maybe this guy.
Restoration of damaged tissue through telepathic manipulation of intrinsic field memory.
I'm not sure what any of that means, but I bet Ott does. Number 4. Now, one of the bigger things that bass heads are talking about this week is Louisiana pro Keith Poche getting his day 1 catch at the Bassmaster Open on Toledo Bend. That happened a few weeks back, where Keith finished 29th, I believe it was. Disqualified. That day 1 catch ended up being disqualified. I guess he was protested. In a statement, Bass said that he violated Rule 15 about remaining in tournament waters, but wasn't specific about how Keith allegedly broke that rule. Keith basically says he got legal access to that water by running over a roller boat ramp, kind of like this. Now here's what Keith says about it overall.
I feel like I got to defend myself. Something's been put out there about me. It's almost like a defamation of character, because it's a lie. It's not true. I did the research. I followed the law. I got the right permits. I went through an area that's meant to be boated through. I mean, what is the problem here? I can't just let this go, because I have to fight for the truth, for the good of what I did. I mean, I can't just lay down and let people think I did something I didn't do.
Now, I'm just going to say a few things about this. I haven't talked to Keith or Bass about it. I have been an investigative reporter in a former life, so I know how that goes, and I can say 100% confidently that no one knows exactly what went down except Keith, and if somebody else was in his boat, unless some crazy great video shows up of the whole thing. So everybody can have an opinion, of course, but nobody really knows what they're talking about. Now, number 2, I'm not exactly sure literally how that's any different than jumping a sandbar or a piece of a cut through that it gets exposed if the lake level is falling. It'll be interesting to see if Bass clarifies that in a rule change in the off season, which is a point I'll be coming back to in a second. The third thing I'll say is that Keith is really firing people up with his fishing style. The ultra skinny water with his Gator Tracks boat, aluminum boat with 2 jack plates, getting way back up into rivers and whatnot. Man, it's working for him too. Last year he won the Red River Open, Bassmaster Open, although somebody, I guess, took issue with how he was doing it because his cut through, which was legal, was apparently blocked one night or one evening. And then he just won the Major League Fishing Bass Pro Tour Douglas and Cherokee event in Tennessee, where again he went way upriver to a dam and had fish to himself and won it. So this whole thing is paying off for him, and because it's not your typical fishing style, he apparently is getting, I don't know, attention for it, grief for it, praise for it. He's getting it all. Now, this whole thing reminds me of 2017 when Ott DeFoe won the Douglas Open in Tennessee using a small aluminum boat, but it had a tunnel hole, also the 2 jack plates, and he was going way upriver to catch fish that other people just couldn't get access to. Now, a couple other guys fishing that event, also pros, had similar, not just pros, but a few other pros as well, had similar rigs, but after that event in the off season, Bass banned tunnel hole boats and also jet drive motors, I believe. So is this whole deal bad? Is it good? Well, I'll tell you, it's healthy to talk about for the sport. And one thing's for dang sure, it sure is building Keith Poche's fan base. Which makes me wonder, is Poche a genius? Number 5. Okay, not 1, not 2, not 5, not even 10, but 20 Dirty 30 limits in one tournament. That's crazy. Man, they were throwing 5 and 6 pounders back. That happened in the Roland Martin Marine Center Series on Lake Okeechobee, and man, I just don't see how that can ever be topped. 20, 30 pound plus limits. Man, all I got to say is congrats to everybody who had a 30 plus limit on that day. What a day to be a bass fisherman. Bless you guys.
She's 90, just letting it all hang out.
That's all I got for you this week. Thanks for watching. Thank you, Seafoam. Go to BassBlaster.com or .rocks to sign up for the juicy Bass Blaster email to get way more detail than I can give you in these videos. See you next week. God bless you.